Okay. Wow. Did anyone hear us? Well, you guys should have shut me off earlier. I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't see the chat. Oh, where Anthony just disappeared. Where did
All right,
Anthony go?
This is a
Hold on.
classic case of pepcac.
all right. That seemed to have solved it.
That solved it. Okay, guys. Hey, I'm very, very sorry. I literally, how many minutes was I into the show? 6 minutes into the show, and I didn't say anything. And our guest just disappeared. Can we find our guest?
Apparently, we didn't trust Anthony.
All right. Well, that was weird because it showed that we were live, or it said we were live, and then it didn't say we're live. All right.
Anthony is here, apparently.
Anthony, refresh your browser and come back in. All right. We don't see or hear you. Just refresh your browser. All right. Guys, everybody, I'm just going to skip everything. This is Rob Allen. He's from ThreatLocker. ThreatLocker is our awesome sponsor. We have Anthony Simons as well, and he was there. He is. Is he joined? Oh no, this is our CISO series producer who's joining in. No, maybe Anthony will join in. I don't see him at all. Can hopefully Anthony will contact you, Rich. You know what? Let's just get going with the show. My apologies, everybody.
Anthony is here, apparently.
He's here, but he's not getting in. I'm going to let them go. We're going to go on with the show. Oh, no, there he is.
Anthony.
There we go.
Hey.
Anthony, I don't know what the heck happened. And audience, I don't know what the heck happened either. But are we streaming on LinkedIn now or no? Yes? No? Yes, we are streaming on. Okay, so we had a little short hiccup there. I'm going to skip that because I don't want to replay through all of that for everybody. But let me just, Anthony Simons is joining us. Rob Allen from ThreatLocker. Thank you both for coming today. We're just going to jump right into this discussion about the hype around Zero Trust. And you were about to answer, Rob, and thank you, Rich, for jumping in here. So the question is the hype around Zero Trust, how is that affecting security professionals' ability to implement Zero Trust?
I would have to say, I think the hype around Zero Trust has subsided somewhat over the last year. And it's basically been completely replaced with the hype for AI. So I think people need to hype something, and Zero Trust has kind of gone down on their hype list at the moment. And it's, as I said, it's been replaced by AI. So it's not as hypey a topic as it was.
You know, I really agree, because I was thinking about it, and I have a video I shot years ago at RSA, and the hype back then was cloud security. So we go through different stages of what's the current hype cycle, because everyone's joining on board. I would agree that the hype is much stronger on AI than on Zero Trust.
Way more.
Currently. But so you don't, so do you think there's no major effect that the hype has? I mean, or the historical hype?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go so far as to say that. What I would say is that a lot of products and solutions and vendors tend to try to associate themselves with whatever is currently hyped. So a couple of years ago, or a year ago maybe, everybody was, we're Zero Trust this, we're Zero Trust that, we're Zero Trust Firewall, we're Zero Trust VPN, we're basically everything Zero Trust. That seems to have subsided somewhat, and now everybody is AI. And it is one of my pet peeves with the cybersecurity industry at the moment, is that it is basically like a my AI is bigger than your AI contest. Leaving aside the fact that AI is just as likely to be used against you as it is to be used to protect you. So the fact that it's not such a hype thing anymore, I think is probably good for the industry and those of us who do preach the gospel of Zero Trust, because it sort of separates the wheat from the chaff to some extent, or the chaff, wheat from the chaff, chaff from the wheat. It basically allows people to look at it with a considered mindset, rather than, oh my God, I have to do this thing because it's all hyped mindset.
Anthony, by the way, who I did not identify, he's the head of group IT operations over at Westland Horticulture. So are you affected by any of the hype things, or do you just sort of do one of the things, you bat it away and you just sort of focus on your mission?
I would say that we didn't go looking for Zero Trust. We just went looking for what we needed. and I try not to pay too much attention to this software does zero trust. I just was like, I need to do this, so I went looking for some software that does that. So I'm not going to respond so well when you get a big banner that says zero trust is this. So we've just gone, we need to solve this problem, this problem, this problem, and then gone out and found software that does it. By chance.
Can I ask a question, David?
Sure.
Are we allowed to sort of veer off and refer to things that are being mentioned in the chat? Because Alfred
please acknowledge the chat. Yes,
Alfred has just mentioned zero trust underwear, and I feel like I have to Google zero trust underwear. So is that okay?
Oh, you don't worry about it. We'll have one of the producers do it for you. We'll find out what we can find on zero trust underwear. But here's the thing. So. And I'm going to call out to the audience because these were I forgot to mention. Oh, I'm sorry, because we missed the whole opening. The bad idea is how not to achieve zero trust. So let's get your bad ideas on how not to achieve zero trust, and then the good idea is what are you doing to sort of get us closer to zero trust? So, Anthony, you sort of teased this, like, well, I just need a solution for this. I need a solution for that, but to figure what that is, to get to a zero trust, you need to know sort of steps along the way to do that. And not everybody quite understands what that is. Rob, I'm assuming like with any customer you got to, talk with them and say, well, where are you on your journey? Because everyone's at some stage of the journey, yes?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I mean, it's as you said, it's somewhat of I'm not going to say it's an unattainable, but it is something that is constantly, or you're moving constantly towards. It's not a single product. It's not I buy this and I am zero trust. It is a strategy. It's an approach. It's a way of looking at things. And there's always going to be improvements. There's always going to be things that you can do differently, that you can do better, that will ultimately improve your outcomes.
So Anthony, let me ask you, do you have sort of a defined journey of your zero trust journey? And do you see it as a defined zero trust journey, or do you see it as a defined sort of security journey? Like, how do you see it?
Security journey, because and maybe some people can relate to this, but I worked out the roadmap of what I needed to do from being hit. And we got hit hard. So off the back of that, we went, what do we need to do? So we almost had our action list built for us by experiencing a pretty major ransomware event, and that basically set the tone of where we were going next. And ever since then, it's just been 60% security, 40% operations, instead of 20% security and 80% operations. They brought it to the forefront. So then we just went, right, we need to control this, and this happened when we were experiencing that attack, so we need to get this, and we need to remove access to everything. So we worked our way through.
Yeah, and that sounds like kind of everybody's story. I just do want to call up Brian Gorman. He, I think, has found the correct definition of zero trust underwear. It depends. Which, by the way, the producer says search on zero trust underwear actually does bring up all cybersecurity vendors. So there's either they're well SEO'd for that. They're either purchasing that on search engine marketing. I don't know, but it sounds like a good play from
Ask Rob.
All right, get your bad ideas in for how not to approach zero trust, and we do have questions coming in. Please get your questions in for zero trust.
Can I just say, Rob has had a excellent suggestion, but he's put it down as a bad idea, but I think it's an awesome idea. Trust only people who've got a full mustache and beard and have a clean-shaven head.
Amen.
Boom. Boom, Rob. We are not accepting your bad idea. That is a tremendous idea.
By the way, the number of bald, bearded men in cybersecurity is astounding, as we have two right now here. It is a very, very high number we have noticed. Here, I've got a good question here from Lewis here. What's the motivation for a company to implement zero trust? Assume a CEO of a large global company try to bring me 3 main reasons to convince me. Yeah, all right. I'm not bought in. Either one of you, jump in. Anthony?
Well, the main reasons to do it is that you get the granular control and understanding of what is happening in your environment. Just having that control in place lets you have confidence that you know what's happening.
That is a very good way of putting it. I like that. All right, I'm going to throw it to you, Rob. What is the motivation? Someone's like, I don't know about that zero trust thing. What do you say?
Well, I think Anthony just gave us a very clear motivation, which is ransomware.
Mm-hmm.
He got hit. He knows what it's like, and very often, unfortunately, it takes getting hit to understand or realize the importance of different approaches, of other approaches. Presumably, Anthony, I don't think we ever spoke about this in too much detail, but I mean, you obviously had tools in place when you got hit by ransomware. You know what I mean?
Not very mature tools. The
Absolutely.
problem is we had confidence in what we had, but it was blind confidence.
Misplaced.
Andrew A. can ask an interesting question here, and I don't even know, are there such things as zero trust maturity assessments to identify what you need to achieve higher levels of zero trust? Either of you will jump in?
I would say that I've attempted to judge it. I don't know if there's an official a maturity assessment, but I've tried to judge it by having ethical hackers and pen testing internal infrastructure sort of assessments, internal, external assessments, see what they can actually do, see if they can get past the tools that I've put in place.
That's a good way of looking at it. Anything to add to that, Rob?
I'm continually distracted by the chat. Val wants to know what about all
they
of us?
They came here to see you too, Rob.
All us non-bald bearded men. Do we have to shave our heads to be part of the cool kids club? Apparently,
answer to that is yes.
I'm assuming Val is a he. Maybe Val is a she, but apparently he or she is down for it if that's what it takes.
Which Val is this? Hold on,
I don't know. Val.
No, Val is a he.
Okay. Yes, Val, you must shave your head and grow your beard.
I do want to call out, because Andrew Aiken's question here, I'm going to just throw this picture up here. Hold on. Where is it? Here we go. He has written a series of children's books called The Security Awareness Pixie. And that is that. And feel free, by the way, Andrew, to drop a link to The Security Awareness Pixie as well. So that is it right there. Let me get rid of that. All right. Let's go back to my discussion here. So, but here also, Drew Brown asked this question. And do you even refer to zero trust in Nirvana states? Because we had this in the subtitle, like trying to achieve the zero trust in Nirvana state, which you're not going to achieve, because at some point there has to be some level of trust. Like, you got to trust the vendor of the solution that you're using to help whatever you're doing. So, does there one exist, or do you not even talk about that because it's impossible to achieve? Either one of you jump in on this.
Does like the perfect solution exist?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
I think you need a group of tools. I think you need a core set and then potentially some around the edges. No offense to ThreatLocker. Like, ThreatLocker would be one of those cores, 100% one of those cores.
Oh, Anthony, I thought you said corset, as in the thing that ladies wear. I was like, a corset and things around the edges? I'm thinking, what are the things around the edges? Oh, sorry, a corset. Okay, that's fine.
I don't think you could achieve it with one thing. Would you even want to achieve it with one single tool? Because supply chain attacks.
All right, let me do this. Yeah, I mean, supply chain attacks. That's a really good point. You don't want to do that. That's why it's nice to have, like diversifying your portfolio, diversifying your security portfolio too. Here, this is an interesting thing. This has come up a bunch of times. I don't know how many times everyone runs into it. Nobody wants to speak, personally about this, so you can talk in vagaries here. But in World of Zero Trust, this is from James Sparenberg. How do you deal with a C-level individual who wants greater access than their need due to ego? This I know that came up in a Reddit discussion too, that people felt that they needed greater access just because of their title within the organization. Is there sort of a polite way of handling this?
Yeah, it's really easy for me. I just refer back to the event that we had and said the reason we have this is because of that. So, and if it gets too difficult, then my boss is C-level, so I just ask him to then have a word, explain the situation.
Well, but what if the CEO is saying this? Like, because CEO is target number one in all these kinds of situations.
I mean, it's a difficult one to really. You just got to find a way. I don't know how else to explain it. I mean,
Rob, let me ask you: do you run into these problems? I mean, with some of your clients having to deal with this.
Not very often, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I was going to make a kind of a smart comment, which is if they want to do X and are pushing about doing X, you can say, well, if you do X, we're going to take away Y. So we're going to take away, you want access to Discord. Okay, well, we're going to take away your access to Twitter or LinkedIn or something. But again, that's just me being facetious more than anything else. Look, I'm not going to hear a bad word said about sea levels. As far as I'm concerned, sea levels are okay in my book and should be in everybody else's. So
there you go.
I hope I'm not detecting an anti-sea level bias here, because I will be offended on behalf of all sea levels.
I look and sound similar to Howard Stern, according to William Almond here. All right, you know what? It's time to jump into our first game. I'm sorry, why is this doing this? That's irritating.
Can I just say as well, Adam made a really good point. Unless you have a static environment, Zero Trust is an ongoing activity. You have to continually improve. I was going to make the comparison, and I don't know if it is an appropriate comparison, but it's the happiness is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
Not dissimilar.
As is security in general. Security, if anyone read Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game, speaks very much to that. We got our first game.
Do you know what others are thinking? On the public interest.
All right, I have not seen these questions. Our great producer, Rich Straffolino, has assembled these questions, and I'm going to play along with you two. And so here we go. Here's the first one. What is the most average monthly search queries for the word policy or posture? What do you think gets more searches? Rob, Anthony, what do you think?
Policy.
I'm going to go with posture, and I think it's people looking for information about how they're sitting rather than security.
That could be. Actually, that's not it. But I'm going to go with policy, too. I'm going with A here. Let's see. One of us is going to win, at least. Policy wins. All right, Anthony and I each have 1 point. There's only a total of 4 questions here. As I always mention, very, very difficult to get all 4 right. We've only had a few pull it off. All right. Authentication or verification, which one gets more monthly search queries? And you'll see the audience will be playing along as well, answering these questions.
To me?
Yeah, anybody jump in here. Authentication.
I'm
going to say D, verification. What do you say?
Verification.
Rob, what do you say?
My instinct had been to just answer whatever Anthony had answered after he got the last one right, but I'm going to go for authentication just to be different.
All right, let's see who wins. I have no idea. We win again. Anthony,
okay, Anthony, you're going first, and I'm copying you.
The strategy, I'm telling you, is not going to work necessarily. All right. So Anthony and I both 2 for 2. Rob is 0 for 2 right now.
You didn't pick one that time.
I did. I was the first one to say verification.
Were you? Okay.
He said verification.
Okay. I don't even know what all these terms mean. ABAC, what is it?
I'm going to go for G.
G. Yeah, I'm with Rob on this one, G.
I'm going to say ABAC, and I don't even know what it is. Let's see what we got.
It's a typo.
Ah, nobody gets it.
What?
There you go. Nobody gets it. All right, last one.
I think is a typo.
Ah, Pam, ACL.
J.
Yeah.
SSO.
I say J, but ACL also refers to the part. Isn't that the ACL injury?
Yes, anterior cruciate ligament.
Yeah, I'm going to say H because I think people will be searching that as well. Sorry, Rob and Anthony, are you going for J and I'm going for H?
I'm going with whatever Anthony's going for.
I'm going for J.
Okay,
I go for H. You go for J. Let's see what we got. Ah.
Wow.
People are looking for
that. Hang on a second. I tried that strategy in the first question and it didn't work for me. But yeah, I guarantee you that's people looking for sports persons' injuries.
Yeah. So actually, I think this is the first one I've won. Actually, 3 out of 4 there. But Rob, hate to tell you, 0 for 4. So,
Zero trust.
all right. So, Rob, this is a point where I want to talk to you specifically about ThreatLocker and sort of how you sort of present zero trust to the community through because you guys have a suite of different solutions. So walk me through what you guys are doing when you sort of either a customer comes to you or you're talking about their zero trust journey. Like, well, how do you present what zero trust is doing in this area, or what ThreatLocker is doing in this area for zero trust?
I suppose, first of all, one of the tenets of zero trust is to assume breach. So assume it's either inevitable or has already happened. So constantly limit access to only what's needed. I mean, that was a definition that was used by the government as part of the zero trust mandate some time ago. So with that in mind, everything that we do, and you mentioned a whole suite of products, and it is a whole suite of products now. It was at one stage 1, 2, 3 different things. Now we've got 7 or 8 different parts of or pieces of the jigsaw. But most of them come back to one principle, which is deny by default, permit by exception. And the permit by exception bit is obviously really important because just denying by default, and you won't be able to do anything. You won't be able to operate. You won't be able to do business. So permit by exception is obviously really important. But everything, or most of what we do, I should say, comes back to that principle. So whether it be, what's allowed to run and what's not allowed to run, whether it's what certain things are allowed to do, whether it's what has access to what data, what programs have access to what data, or whether it be network connectivity. In pretty much all those cases, our approach and our recommendation is to, as I said, deny by default and permit by exception. Now, if you think about...
Can I hold you on just for a second? Because I know just that phrase, deny by default, it makes some people's hairs stand up.
Yeah, but you have to finish the rest of the sentence, which is permit by exception.
Well, I was going to give you sort of qualify you here. Don't worry, I'm on your side here.
That's okay. That's okay.
We did a whole episode of this. Actually, I'm going to ask Rich if he can look this up. Find that episode we did with Rob Allen. I believe it was on Defense in Depth, where we talked about this in great detail. The way they approach deny by default ThreatLocker is not this sort of maniacal shut all walls down kind of a thing in what you're envisioning. Their deny by default approach is in a very more logical framework that actually you may not be aware, but certain tools that you have are in a very permissive state, and they're taking away this extremely permissive state that a lot of tools you have in your environment. Did I explain that well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we did a podcast recently with a guy called Jacoby. He was Hack5's Hacker of the Year for the last 3 or 4 years. Guy's an absolute genius. But he made some really clever PowerShell-based polymorphic reverse shell code. And because it's polymorphic, basically every time it gets down onto a machine, it's different. He reaches out, calls an API, code comes down, code runs, reverse shell runs. Impossible to stop with traditional methods. I mean, he's tested it against basically every tool that's out there. Impossible to stop with traditional approaches. He tried it against ThreatLocker and he was like, holy shit, it's stopping me. Sorry, I'm not allowed to curse.
Yeah, you can swear on this show.
Okay, that's fine. Holy shit, it's stopping me every time. This thing's amazing. It must be using behavioral analysis or some really clever stuff to stop it. And I was, no. We stopped it because we said PowerShell can't access the internet, not because we know what's happening. It's because we've applied a control to stop the thing from happening.
I'm glad you brought that up too. So 2 things I want to sort of mention to everybody. One is we just dropped the link to that episode that Rob was on. It was a fairly recent episode. But then second is, and I want you guys, my team, to drop the link to the YouTube video. We also did a demo, or I did a demo with Rob. Rob did it for me, actually. Rob did the demo for me of specifically, and this was really cool. He created a piece of malware using ChatGPT, had ChatGPT. We went through a good 10 iterations to get the malware to be really, really obfuscated. It's really interesting what he did. And then showed how ThreatLocker could stop a completely brand new piece of malware. It was great. It's all shown in the demo right now. So drop that link. And then the last thing I want to show everybody is I'm going to put a poll up right now. So that demo is cool. Also, if you don't get a chance to look at it, we're going to put it in the Sunday newsletter that you'll all see, assuming you're subscribed to our newsletter. We're going to also embed that video in the newsletter as well. But at this moment, I am also making a poll. Whoops. There we go. I'm making a poll available right now. If you would like a warm handoff to ThreatLocker to see what they're doing with Zero Trust or heck any of this, or how they can do this where they essentially stop completely brand new viruses that's never been seen before, first watch the demo, but more importantly, go ahead and go to the poll. You'll see, if you look on the right, there's like a bar chart like icon. Click on that and you'll see the poll right there, and we'll make the warm handoff.
Can I just warn people in advance, David? So I want to set realistic expectations here. The likelihood is that it will not be a bald person with a beard who's contacting you or speaking to you. So I just want to apologize in advance. I know that's what you're all interested in, but it may not be a bald person with a beard. We'll see if we can find one. If that's specifically what you want, we'll see if we can find one.
Let me ask you, do you, if people request that, will the rep on your side put on a bald cap and put on a fake beard?
Yes.
They will do it if it's requested.
If necessary, yes.
But you know what? That might be something that ThreatLocker needs to invest in, more ball caps and fake beards, if they're not willing to shave their head and grow a beard. And I'm talking about the women.
Just got a picture of me and had a card with my face and head in front of it. Would that work? Or does it have to be an actual?
I prefer the ball cap.
Could it be a deep fake of you too?
Okay, so Drew has said I'd accept a ball cap and a fake beard. So okay, we can do that.
By the way, this is Adam Ariano's response to you. There you go. That's how he feels about it. Why is this doing this? All right, let's get rolling. We've got more. By the way, the ThreatLocker difference. That's what Rich Truffalito said. All right. More questions from our audience. Please get them in. We will address them. In fact, I think I have another question here. Okay, here. I don't know what the ENV is standard. In any environment, thank you. In any environment, there exists user or users that have access system type wide. Do you have recommendations for planning how you deal with it? Yeah, there are sometimes those sort of, those user accounts that aren't identified to a person, but they're just sort of these generic user accounts. How do you deal with this, Anthony?
Generic user accounts?
No, don't you know, they have, we saw this before, but where there's an account that's like, I'm going to use the term admin, but there's like an admin account that may have multiple people who have access to it, that have had the rights to it. But let's use a different name, like some user account for XYZ.
Yeah, well, in my environment, I wouldn't allow a generic account. Each person gets like a strong account against their account who needs it, but that's not their day-to-day account. They have to elevate themselves to use that account and go through a number of steps before they can. So,
but do you also create profile accounts, or you don't do that as well?
As in profile accounts, as in your standard accounts?
Yeah, standard accounts that then you would then apply to people's personal accounts.
So every standard user has a standard account that has no access.
Okay.
Their day-to-day account. And then anybody in my team, say, would have a slightly elevated support account that can do certain things. And then if you really want to get to the real nitty-gritty, then there's a top-level account for each person.
All right. Hey, this is a good question. I want to know some actual lessons that you've all learned from applying Zero Trust. Like, did you make any missteps? Like, you did one thing, you're like, oh, this is not the right thing to do, thinking that it was. Anyone want to jump in on this? Anthony, Rob?
I did. But I never make mistakes. That's a preposterous suggestion.
Anthony, do you want to point out any of Rob's mistakes for him?
Mistakes that we made. We probably went too granular with our control initially, which overloaded our teams with too many requests. An attempt to be so controlled and specific that it just became overwhelming to manage.
I think that's a lot of people's fear of zero trust too.
And yeah, that is a fear of zero trust. And the reason that we were attracted to ThreatLocker was because if it does do something, it pops up, and you can set it to go to your support desk, and you can get a request, and you can manage it through there. And there's a request system inside the actual portal that you can link to your ticket. And that really appealed to us, which is kind of one of the reasons that we were very keen on initially looking at ThreatLocker.
By the way, the link at the bottom of the screen is for the ThreatLocker demo. If you want to see that, you can click on it there too. That actually is going to disappear in just a couple of minutes, so click on it soon. But again, we'll make it available in the newsletter on Sunday as well. So what is the zero trust has been recommended by the U.S. government. My question to you, Rob, when customers come to you, are they at all stages of zero trust, or are they at sort of very, very green stages when they're sort of coming to you for the first time?
It varies. I mean, a lot of cases, people don't even know it's a thing. They don't know that they need it. They don't know if they need it, why they need it. You've got companies like Anthony's who've had experiences with why they need to do something different, and that's why they're talking to us.
The granular visibility is an interesting explanation, because I rarely hear that definition of it. I hear the classic of, only give access when needed and not permissive.
Yeah, look, I suppose step one is to identify what's there. Step one is to figure out what you've got, whether it be devices or software or users. And you'd be amazed at the lack of visibility of these things that a lot of organizations have. I mean, I think when we spoke about it previously, we mentioned things like remote access tools. You have no idea the amount of remote access tools that are running in your average environment. I mean, it's probably somewhere between 6 and 7 different remote access tools, independent remote access tools that are running in people's environments. And that's 6 or 7 different things that people can use to get into your network with. They're tools that can be misused. Is that
95% of the problem right there? I mean, I'm just making something up right there, but because you've brought this up many times, and it seems that when people are getting in, it's these 6, 7 tools that are just sitting there permissively.
Can I just say, Alfred, 10 out of 10 for the South Park reference. Phase 1, inventory assets. Phase 2, question mark, question mark, question mark. Phase 3, zero trust. Underpants Gnomes reference. Okay. I got that one. Sorry, I've completely forgotten the question.
I didn't get it. Go ahead, but now I'm blanked out on what the heck I was just asking.
So did I. Alfred, that's your fault.
Yeah, Alfred, you're distracted.
South Park references in the chat. Something about identifying.
Oh no, I was saying that these 6 or 7, is this the overwhelming majority of the problem of issues around zero trust, or is there another angle that we're not seeing here? I'm just like, could you boil down to the problem is this is where the majority of the problems are happening?
No. Is the short answer. There's a lot of other parts. Again, go back to what we mentioned at the beginning, which is to assume breach. I know we were talking about user accounts and user permissions and so on and so forth earlier on. As far as I'm concerned, yes, you should limit user permissions, but the fact of the matter is you should assume that who is on your network has got full admin access. Okay, full, absolute, total control of your network. They're sitting on one of your servers right now. What can they do? Now, that is what assume breach means. Okay, now if you work from that perspective, if you assume that they're on my server right now, they've got full domain access, what can they do? That everything we do makes sense from a default deny perspective.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Where have you seen greatest issues with essentially trying to gain access, Anthony?
The greatest issue for us was unknown programs on our network, and putting in a tool that shows that suddenly brought up so many surprises, like seeing gaming launchers and streaming tools. The minute we deployed anything that could tell us this, basically ThreatLocker, we instantly got this list, and it was quite eye-opening how many people had things running on their machines, night shift people running little tools that would allow them to do certain things like watch the football.
None of them C-suite, I would imagine, Anthony.
No. No. Maybe.
So that's amazing.
Mainly Liverpool supporters.
Well, it's interesting that often recreational behavior can turn into great sort of fallibility for your network. Someone just sort of
It's the worst ones. It's the worst ones. Like if you're trying to get an illegal stream, you're going onto a site that's trying to chuck a lot of dodgy stuff down your throat.
But it's interesting you say that, because we argue, it goes, oh, well, the business is just trying to do their job. They're just trying to get things done. But as you pointed out, it goes, sometimes that's not what they're trying to do. They're just trying to screw around and have fun.
Yep.
Or in some cases, Googling zero trust underwear.
That could do it as well. All right. Oh, we've come to another very important part. And my thing is annoying the crap out of me right now. We have this call that just came in.
Hello, welcome to the Department of Yes, where no request is ever rejected.
All right. So these are not good ideas. These are not good recommendations. I know the one about the bald head that you actually liked very much. You thought was a very good idea. Bald bearded security professionals. But here we go. We have a bad idea from Mr. Andrew Aiken, who suggests this. Here, I can actually put it up. Assume all employees are bad actors and treat every resource, it says Rich, but it's actually Andrew Aiken who said this, resource request as an indicator of compromise that must be investigated by the SOC. I will start with you, Anthony. Why do you think this is a good idea, and why are you going to actually deploy this? And again, can't be facetious. Give me a good argument here.
Because every employee is a bad actor, and you should be treating every.
I just want to say, I'm reading some of these suggestions as bad ideas. I'm thinking these are really good ideas. There's one here which is assume Gary from sales has breached the network, kidnap Gary and take him back to a CIA black site for waterboarding interrogations, share the results with other employees to set an example. These ideas are awesome.
All right. Well, then let me make you. Let me ask you to argue Alfred's comment here. The assume Gary from sales. Why is this a great idea? Give me a good, honest explanation of why it's good.
Okay. Maybe kidnapping Gary and taking him to a CIA black site for waterboarding interrogations might be a little bit excessive.
But assume Gary from sales has breached the network. I mean, he's in sales. He probably has. So limit Gary's access to everything. Gary shouldn't have access to stuff he shouldn't need access to. He shouldn't be able to run Minecraft or Discord or sorry, I know we're allowed to use Discord, sorry, or log me in or TeamViewer, because if he can, then the nice man from Microsoft is going to ring Gary and say, hey Gary, you got a problem with your computer, I'm going to fix it for you. I want you to download this thing, and then Gary's going to download it, and then everything's gone to hell. So yeah, assume Gary is breached. I really don't like the sound of Gary. And as I said, I will stop. I will don't like the sound of Gary
of kidnapping him. But I mean, he doesn't sound like a nice guy.
All right, I'm giving that one to you. Good job, Anthony. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I can't beat that.
All right, then I'm gonna jump on to another one. I'm gonna jump to. Hold on, what we got here? Here we go. This one comes from Paul Culligan. It says, again, this is Paul Culligan, even though it says Rich Stroffolina. Don't do anything and report to your C-suite that you already have zero trust in your security program. When you're compromised, act confused on why they're upset. Again, why do you want to do this? There's one good, obvious answer here. Don't do anything. Report to your C-suite that you have zero trust in your security program.
Because it was one of the C-suite that actually had the problem.
Oh, God.
Oh.
I'm disappointed. Rob, you want to come in and save Anthony here?
Well, I'm okay. Reading between the lines. No. I was just going to say, aren't most of the attendees in this C-suite?
Most of the attendees in this chat right now,
Yes.
I don't think they're all C-suite. No.
Okay, never mind. Because I was going to say that they were the ones who were suggesting. No, okay, never mind.
Why do you want to do this?
No, never mind. Act confused as to why they're upset. I mean, realistically, when you get breached, I don't think you're going to have time to act confused with why they're upset. I think you are going to be so busy pulling your hair out and trying to fix things and trying to make things better and
If you
trying
have
to.
All right. You're both lost. There's a correct answer to this. The correct answer is you say you bought Zero Trust products, but you don't, and you save the company a ton of money to then pay for the ransomware that you get later. It's so obvious.
Anthony, I think he's insinuating things about us. If that was obvious, was that obvious, Anthony? No, it was. Yes, buying a bald bearded CISO. Thank you, Drew. Excellent suggestion.
Buying a bald bearded CISO. That's Drew has. Yeah, there you go. Good job, Drew. And by the way, let me remind to everybody: if you look at the link at the bottom of the screen, it says register for our November 1st episode, hacking your cyber brand. Go ahead and click on that. Register for it. All right. Let's actually. I usually ask this a little bit later, but I'm going to ask it now. What have we not? Because there's a lot we have not talked about. What have we not talked about with regard to Zero Trust that you think everyone needs to know, Anthony? And by the way, I loved your answer before about, and I brought it up again about you get to see the granularness of your environment. What do we need to be talking about that we haven't brought up?
Ooh. Zero Trust.
I'm going to pause on you, Anthony. Rob, answer that question.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to have to come back to the question, I'm afraid, David. And I'm sorry for getting distracted all the time, but I keep on seeing
No, it's
these
all right.
messages.
The chat's
I keep
great
on seeing
today.
These messages in the chat for people threatening to shave their head. Okay.
Well, no,
now, can I just say,
Andrew wants a job, so he's willing to do it.
Yes, I know this, but
Andrew's
Anthony,
got a
you
full
will
head of
agree
hair.
with me on this. Okay, you need a particular shape of head to be able to shave it. There are very misshapen heads out there that if somebody was to shave them, they would look like some sort of a cabbage. Okay, Anthony, do you agree with me here?
Yes.
Thank you. So please, everybody, don't shave your heads just because we have done so. We have
no
They've
choice.
got nice craniums. By the way, can I remind people again?
Shaped craniums that are suitable for shaving head, and not everybody does. So please.
I want to warn everybody that not everybody who works at ThreatLocker is as insane as Rob is.
Hang on a second. I thought this was supposed to be fun. You asked me to be fun. I can turn.
I'm
my
giving you a hard time, Rob.
If you want,
go to the poll for the warm handoff to the people at ThreatLocker. The insanity is fun.
Marvel has just made my exact point, which is square heads don't look good with shaved heads. That pretty much what I was saying.
Hadass shaved her head when she was 18 and made her ears look really big. So your
Correct.
ears look fine.
That is one of the many dangers.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why some bald men just keep the hair here.
Now, there you go. Andrew, of course, if I shave my head, it'll highlight the crack in his skull. So Andrew has a crack in his skull. So Andrew, please don't shave your head. Certainly not on our behalf, okay? Like, I mean, if it's something you want to do, then absolutely crack on. But like, just not on account of us, not because of this podcast,
I don't know if this
Andrew.
is pertinent to our discussion about Zero Trust. I'm going to go back to my question for you, Rob. What are we not talking about it with regard to Zero Trust that we should be talking about?
God, you keep coming back to these serious questions, and I keep getting distracted by the chat. I can't do this, David. I'm single process. I'm
going to give you a second to think about that because we're coming to the close of this show here. Hold on. I'm going to guys, I need you to think about this. My question that I just had. Here we go. Let me just remind everybody. ThreatLocker has been our phenomenal sponsor for here, and I want to thank both Rob and Anthony for joining us for this discussion, whether we were talking about zero trust or not. Hey, by the way, starting in about 100 minutes from now, we're going to do our cybersecurity headlines we can review with Steve Person, who's the CISO over at Cambia Health. That we'll be wrapping up the week's news. That's over on our YouTube channel, so please join us for that. And just remind to stick around for a meetup. There it is. Click the link at the bottom. That is available now. You can go ahead and click on that now, but we'll be joining you as soon as we wrap up, which won't be for another 10 minutes, actually. And then if you would like to sponsor a Super Cyber Friday, join us at info, or just email me. Email me at info@cisoseries.com. We have 2 left in 2024 available for sponsorship if you're interested as well. All right. What is it that we're not talking about zero trust that we should be talking about, Rob?
You've asked me this question twice, and I still don't know the answer. So
All right,
I mean,
I'm going to ask
could
you.
please ask
You know
that?
what?
I
We
mean,
have
ask
questions
Anthony.
from our audience. This is from Hadass. What do you do for our marketing teams? They often need access to horrible internets, but also to data. So, giving them access, the marketing team. I mean, you were talking about, like, Anthony. The I don't know how bad the marketing teams need crappy access, but are they
I don't
asking
know what
for
your
access
marketing
to
teams
things
are
that
up
are a
to.
little too scary?
For me, it's more the technical teams that need scary stuff.
Yeah. All right. So this isn't a concern. Let's go to this.
No, well, it's, just do answer that one for a second. So even if somebody needs access to horrible internets,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you should allow them access to horrible internets, but if you allow them to access to horrible internets, again, what can happen? What are the things that can then happen? So I go to horrible internets, and it tries to get me to, download a dodgy Chrome extension or run something on my machine. You block all of those things, it doesn't matter. So off you go to your dodgy or your horrible internets. It's less of a, or
It's like running into a dangerous thing in a padded suit or something like that. I mean,
that's an excellent analogy. That is a fantastic analogy, David. Do you mean like a padded suit, or like a what do you call these things?
or a straitjacket,
A straitjacket?
or a padded room where you
Maybe a
can't hurt
straitjacket
yourself.
in a padded room.
Yeah, you can't hurt yourself that way. All right, this is a question we should have opened with from John Loba. What are some of the critical basics to get started on a zero trust journey? All right, for some of those out there, because you've had the whole gamut. What are some early steps, Anthony? Early steps.
Early steps is you've got to create a relatively clean environment somewhere to create a base build for yourself, to understand what you want the good to look like. Because it's all good putting controls in everywhere, but you could lock down legitimate tools that you need, or you could allow bad things in. So as an example, if you learn everything on your system and go, right, that's going to be the allowed list, what if you've got something in there that's bad? You put it into your list and you've allowed it across your network.
All right. Robert, would you add early stages of zero trust?
Understanding your network and your data is probably step one. So what is out there? What are things doing? What is running? What data are people accessing? Basically, getting visibility is pretty much the place that you have to start. And then you can work backwards from that. So you can say, right, these are all the things that are... Sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, you have 2 scenarios. You can either go to and go get a tool that does it for you, drop it in and find out all the gotchas, or you can come at it from a very basic standpoint and try and get to a place before you go full zero trust. I guess to qualify that, you could spend time working on your environment to get it as good as possible, or you can just go buy a tool and let them tell you how crap your environment is.
I don't think I ever told you how crap your environment is, Anthony.
That's because my environment was good.
Touche.
But you admitted, Anthony, that there were some things that you didn't know about.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. But I was taking over a system where there was 150 people that had domain admin.
All right.
So
Ooh.
I was new to the role.
By the way, so we have, let me just see, we have 5 minutes left in our conversation right now. Let me also remind people the poll. Please go answer the poll there to get a nice handoff to the people at ThreatLocker. And also, you're going to want to watch that demo video, which we'll make available on Sunday as well. All right, with our 5 minutes left, what is it that we did not ask that we should have asked Rob?
Sorry, I was just busy clicking on the poll saying, yes, I'd like a warm handoff to learn more from ThreatLocker.
Mm-hmm. As you should.
What didn't we ask that we should have asked? Did you not ask me this question a minute ago?
I think I did actually.
That's the one that I failed to answer
I said,
three times. And you figured fourth time lucky.
I'm going to go to another question.
Okay,
if
good
guys
idea.
can't handle it. Let's do this.
Hadas has just answered very correctly. He will never answer that question, David.
Yes, I know. All right. Legit sites and third-party cookies. Any recommendations on how to deal with and or block them from James Sparenberg? Anyone want to jump in?
Legit sites, as in good places.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's what he means.
So legitimate, like threatlocker.com.
Great site. Great site.
Discord.
I will mention, so we
DNS filtering.
we built a set of policies around protecting cookies. Basically, without getting into too much detail, it's basically only allow Edge access Edge's cookies, only allow Firefox access Firefox cookies, only allow Chrome access Chrome cookies. So effectively it's default deny. So a lot of the techniques that you can use using things like PowerShell to get at cookies and copy them onto other machines, etc., just won't work basically. So if only the browser can access its cookies, it's less likely that those cookies can be stolen.
All right. Well, there you go. There's an answer to that question. All right. Auntie, I'll come back to you to ask the question that I've asked multiple times because Rob won't answer it.
Jeez. Go on then.
Let me ask you, what is it you think people are most confused about with regard to Zero Trust?
People are confused because it's a rolled up word that means many different things. And the reality is you've got to look at everything in an individual instance of, are you blocking applications? That's Zero Trust. Are you reducing people having access on the network? That's Zero Trust. Are you making people request for access to certain systems? Privileged access management. That's Zero Trust. Each one of those needs to be evaluated separately. I don't know if I would I didn't go off the back of when we got hit, let's go get a Zero Trust tool.
Right.
I was like, we need antivirus. We need endpoint detection and response. That's what I'm reading at the moment because EDR was a buzzword for a while. And then I was like, we need application control. In come ThreatLocker. Of course, what ThreatLocker did is released a bunch more tools that I then had to buy. So it was just a case of each thing that we came across, we needed a resolution.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that one of my co-hosts, Mike Johnson, said is he said with his building a Zero Trust environment is we treat people who come in our environment within our own company no different than if you are accessing our company through the coffee shop across the street. Do you feel that's how you're looking at your environments? Yes? Rob, you're nodding your head.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, a really interesting light bulb went off for me some time ago when I was in the Middle East in Dubai, and I was speaking on a panel with a very nice lady who was responsible for the cybersecurity for a large educational institution. So basically just a big school for all intents and purposes. And she described her problem as not only having all of the hackers on the outside trying to hack in, but also having 10,000 hackers on the inside trying to hack in as well. But the fact is that's the same in a lot of organizations. So insider threats are a real thing. I mean, there's been documented cases recently of North Korea trying to get into one of the cybersecurity companies here in Florida, I believe. that's a real thing too. And again, going back to the example of Gary in sales, despite the fact that he's in sales and we all don't like the sound of him, apply that same principle to everyone. You know, everyone could be an insider threat. So again, constantly limit access to only what's needed.
Good point. All right, gentlemen, I greatly appreciate your time here. Audience, if you have not joined our meetup before, I'd like you to join. So please click the link at the bottom of the screen where it says join our post-show meetup on Discord. Click it now. Rob and Anthony, I don't know if Anthony will be able to join, but we'll see if he can join. Anthony, thank you so much for your time. Rob, thank you so much for your time. And I want to thank my producers, Rich and Aaron, for making this all possible. Go ahead, take us off. I'll see you all over on Discord. Head on over.